What are the sacrifice price he had to pay as an HR director to keep the job moving?
One of them, as I rose through the ranks, was that leadership is lonely. And you have to have a support system that you can trust to be able to survive it. You can't just discuss just anything with anybody. And sometimes these are things people are blaming you for, but you can't tell them the truth. Sometimes you just have to defend what the union is asking for, but the union doesn't know you're defending it. Be fair, be consistent, be truthful always. Sometimes you might not be understood, but you can go home and sleep well when you've done the right thing. They announce you as a manager, people congratulate you, you come to that job. You don't automatically become respected.
You earn it.
You earn it if you're going to be a career person. Whether you're a man or a woman, the biggest decision of your life is the spouse you choose.
Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Be Inspired with Ihuoma. My guest today has enjoyed 27 exciting years of generalist HR experience in Chevron Nigeria Limited, rising through the rank from the position of human resources representative in various areas of human resources administration to supervisory and leadership positions. She's an expert in total remuneration, organization capability, industrial relations, leadership development, consulting, and talent management. This has involved effective development of a cohesive human resources leadership team. As a director of human resources and medical, she has overseen a huge medical organization covering 2 large hospitals in 2 locations, 3 clinics, and several offshore medical posts. As a member of the executive leadership team and board of directors, she provided needed support in ensuring the effective deployment of the company talent strategy and actively participated in the business unit leadership as a thought leader. She has now transitioned into being the CEO of the Heart of HR, an outfit providing freelance service on HR including workshop, conference presentations, virtual office support, company startup, HR support, labor relation advisory. Please welcome Mrs. Ihuoma Onyearugha. Welcome, ma. I'm so happy to have you on my show. So you retired from multinational company Chevron Nigeria. Can you please tell me your experience?
My experience in Chevron was awesome. Chevron is a great company, a good place to work, a very good company that has a very good value system, documented, processed, followed through. So it's easy for one to actualize one's potentials in that company, and I did. So it was a great experience for me.
So what has been the defining moment for you that this is the moment that I really enjoy, and then why?
In my career in Chevron, I would say I had 3 defining moments per se. And they were all moments in my career where I was stretched, where I was put out of my comfort zone, and where I felt, can I do this? And at the end of it, it was quite fulfilling for each of them. One was when I was first made a manager, and the position I was given was being vacated by a technical person. And it's a position, it was a people management manager. And it was occupied by a scientist who, a geologist by the way, who was interacting with the C-suite, the senior management executives, and providing very technical people stuff kind of. And here I was coming from the administrative part of HR and going into that strategic, so to speak, part of HR that was just evolving before we started the business partner system of structuring HR. So I was a bit apprehensive. I was wondering, I said, I wanted to be a manager, but not this, I hadn't been forced into executive leadership before then, so I was kind of back end. So that kind of was a defining moment for me, and I survived it and did it very well. So then the next time was when I was sent abroad to the headquarters of Chevron as a senior HR advisor, having to interact with very senior executives of Chevron beyond Nigeria, and having to manage expatriates from more than 12 countries across the globe, Americans who were scattered all over the globe, and being their business partner, also being in management of Chevron overseas, being an HR business partner, supporting them. So it was quite a defining moment, kind of built my confidence and helped me to do the job of the HR director, which was now the third defining moment for me. So,
amazing,
yeah.
amazing. I'm sure that you have a mentor during your career, and why do you choose that particular mentor?
Well, starting from when I joined Chevron in 1992, the expatriate that brought me in was a kind of mentor. He didn't stay too long, but he saw the potential in me, and that was really one of the things I loved about Chevron, because I knew nobody in Chevron when I came into Chevron. When I applied to Chevron and tested, was interviewed by this guy, and I was like, I didn't believe there was a Nigeria like that as at that time. So, and then he helped me, nurtured me, and with initial teething problems of settling into such a big organization. So he was my first mentor, so to speak. His name was Mr. McDonald, Ian McDonald. Yeah. And then there was another expatriate that was there when I moved into the business partner role, and his name was Tim Papa. And of course, all through I joined in 1992, and later on, there was Mr. Mafidon, Emmanuel Mafidon, who joined as my supervisor. I came in February. I think he came in May, I guess. And from that time, he was my first supervisor in Chevron. And we kind of struck a good relationship, professional relationship, and being a very, very kind, good person. And he kind of became a mentor, a friend, and always kind of understood me and helped me. Kind of all the rough hues, helping me to, go through all those challenges of being a woman in Nigeria in a corporate environment. And sometimes you want to do something, you just call up and say, what do you think about this? And kind of helping to temper whatever you wanted to do. So I really am happy I had a relationship with him, and I'm very thankful to him. And generally, those are the main people. But we had a lot of senior colleagues I had relationships with that I could talk to, because it wasn't easy.
Right.
So those are the three major ones, but I had younger ones. I had younger mentors. You won't believe it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's
people
amazing.
think mentors are only people who are above you, but no, it's not so. There were some younger people who I depended on. Their friendship supported me all through too.
What are the sacrifice price you had to pay as an HR director to keep the job moving?
There were periods of challenges, especially Chevron being a very unionized environment. The oil industry has very strong unions. So they were, initially when I started, I got involved with the union side of the business. It was quite a challenge, because dealing with the union is something that requires a lot of patience, a lot of people skills,
right.
a lot of communication skills, a lot of networking. And Mr. Mafidon had been on that path before me, and I also relied on him all through to as I walked through that path. So initially I was very impatient with the union. I was wondering, why are they thinking this way? Sometimes you see them targeting you per se, trying to deal with you in a manner that is very uncomfortable. But when it dawned on me that really these people are doing their job, I'm doing my job. So if my mindset changed over time to see them as doing their job and doing whatever they can to get what they want,
right.
and me doing my job and doing whatever I could to portray what is important to management. So I ended up developing a kind of good, balanced relationship with them and making friends, if you could call it that, along the way, because you really cannot be friends with the union. When they want something, they want it,
Wow.
So, but I appreciate the work they do, and sometimes I don't like the style they take, but we ended our relationship on a good note, so to speak.
So they know you as Mrs. Ho.
Yes. No, you are amiable director. That's how I ended it.
So what are the lessons you've actually learned during this whole process, the experience, everything? What are the biggest lessons that you actually hold on to yourself that I will never, ever let go of this?
Quite a couple of lessons. One of them, as I rose through the ranks, was that leadership is lonely. And you have to have a support system that you can trust to be able to survive it, starting from the home front. Because there are many things as you grow up the rung of your career that you cannot just talk to anybody about. You can't just discuss just anything with anybody. And sometimes these are things people are blaming you for, but you can't tell them the truth of what is happening. And you're just there managing through this whole process, knowing that people are saying, oh, you did this, you did this, you did this, and you didn't do any one of those things, and you can't tell them you didn't do any one of those things. Or management decides this is the path to go. And through the process of arriving at a situation, a position of management, you may have been against some of those things. And in your mind, you're still against some of those things. But you are going out there as representing management, and you have to go living that thing, believing it, and passionately defending that position, even when it is against what you want, But at the end, majority said, this is the way we are going.
So does it mean that you have to let go of your personal belief just because of the job?
I wouldn't say so. I'm lucky because in Chevron, I worked in a company whose value system kind of aligned with mine. Chevron tried to do what is right. So I wouldn't say my personal beliefs, it could be overall, my beliefs were not really, like Chevron will make you tell lies, for example.
Right.
Or give bribe to people, for example, or do what is wrong.
Right.
So universally wrong. But it could be like, for example, if you're, I don't know how to go tactical, something like you're wearing a red dress and there's a yellow dress and I think you look better in the yellow dress, I could tell you I prefer that. There could be some basic things that if you look at it from the point of view of the company, that is what they want to do. But it's not that it is wrong. It is not wrong. It's not against my belief. It's just that this is in terms of what I think should be done at this point. But the fact remains, okay, let me give you an example. If the company wants to let people go, I might not be comfortable with it, but it's not, the company is trying to survive. And if you look at it from the point of view of the company, they want to let people go. And because they want to survive, because the cost is too high. And that is about some of the most challenging part of being a leader in HR, because you have to manage through that. Wow. So, and sometimes too, you are there as representing management, and you are a Nigerian. That's another challenge. You're a Nigerian manager in a foreign company, so to speak. So in your mind, you're representing management the best you could. And you have to strike a balance between your two groups, so to speak. You have the management side, you have the people side. The people side are also Nigerians. And sometimes they believe you're too management, you're always carrying the toga of management, but that is what you're paid to do. But sometimes you get comfortable. You might also think that the other side of the business might be thinking, oh, okay, the union is asking for XYZ thing and it will benefit you. Can we trust you? I don't know but that's what you perceive at times. So if you're going to defend, sometimes you just have to defend what the union is asking for, but the union doesn't know you're defending it. So you defend it to management. The management is thinking, oh, it's because, might be thinking, and let me not say, they might be thinking, oh, it's because you're going to gain from it. Wow. So it's a challenge for you to maintain your essence and walk boldly, knowing you've done what is right. I've had courses where I had to defend the people, the union side, for example. But if I market it, fine, it goes well. But if I'm not able to market it and I have to go with another view, and I have to go to the union and present this and with bone face as if I believe this is the best thing to do. And the union is like, be looking at you as if you're not fighting for them, but they don't know what goes on in that room, in any situation room where you have to deal with. So striking that balance to maintain your humaneness and what is right, and also carrying messages that might be uncomfortable,
Right.
and not caring that people really are blaming you for that, unfairly blaming you for that. So, but one thing I know, as you said, lessons from that I learned is be fair, be consistent, be truthful always. You might not be, sometimes you might not be understood, but you can go home and sleep well knowing you've done the right thing.
Within yourself.
Within yourself, you know you've done the right thing. And that goes for management, goes for employees that you work with. Sometimes they blame you for a lot of things. You can't tell them why you can't do, you can't tell them what is happening. Sometimes you're working on something that could benefit somebody at the long run, but the immediate time, you don't, the employee might not see it.
Yeah.
You know, so, but you can't tell the employee, just hang in there, I'm working on something, you know, because you're not sure that what you're working on. Exactly. So you can't go promising people what you haven't seen.
That's a whole lot, man.
Yeah.
So we're going to go on a short break and then we'll be right back. Welcome back to Be Inspired with Umela Bite. Yes, ma'am. So I want to ask this question. How do you manage people's emotions, loyalty to the company, especially when they feel that they put in so much effort without getting expected results?
There's a lot of that. I experienced a lot of that because the system that Chevron employs in terms of career growth is not like in government, for example, or in some companies. Every job in Chevron has a limit, has a limit. If you're a driver, for example, or you're a nurse, or you're an HR person, there's a limit of where you can get to, or a secretary, or an engineer. And knowing that it's an engineering company, all support services, for example, all support careers, none of them can grow as high as an engineer or a scientist can grow in that company. So most times you find that employees expect more. And even if in your own particular, let's say HR, for example, there's a limit to where you can get to. There's only one HR director.
Right.
There are few HR managers. There are few supervisors. And of course, as you go down, you see more people. So as they grow, the opportunities for higher levels, promotions, reduce. So no matter how hard you work, if you continue staying where you are, there's a limit to where you can grow to. So people sometimes are not as realistic as they are because, well, it's a human thing. Everybody has, you know, the motivation theories. You know, there's a time that no matter how much you're paid, you need some self-esteem, actualizations, some status, things that make you feel you have arrived, so to speak. And one of them is career growth.
Right.
So even though Chevron pays well, no matter how well they pay, you want to be a manager someday. And there's a limit to the number of, opportunities you can have as a manager. So you see a lot of emotions around stagnation. Oh, I've stayed on this job for so long, you know, I can't move, and you know. So that's where you find that the role of a supervisor is important, to continue to communicate and encourage and coach and explore, help the employee to explore opportunities and know whether their skill sets are still aligned with, you know, opportunities that can help them grow, for example. So you see people sometimes, not just HR, walk into your office, cry, they didn't get promoted, and because of the nature of performance management as well. So it starts from, oh, I worked so hard all through the year, either I was not promoted or my performance ranking was not what I anticipated. And some of these things is because in a system in a human organization, no matter how much I tell you that Chevron is great, it's a human organization. So you still see people doing what Chevron wants them to do.
Right.
And as much as Chevron has processes in place and people work according to those processes, things are good. But sometimes you find that supervisors and people are not quite aligned with some of those values and processes and policies, and things might not be good. So if somebody is working with a supervisor that is not engaging, is not humane, does not explain things, or not even push to help people, to talk about what people did and get the right assessments for them. So you see people getting frustrated. So the work of HR continues to be how to develop leaders based on the values of the system.
Does it mean that it goes beyond just the work you do, also the way you relate to people around you as well?
You mean for me or for?
For employee who want to get promoted, who want to rise to the
So it has to do with your skill sets, understanding what the current skill set. If you enter the company as, I've seen people who enter the company as maybe, let me take an example of a pharmacist. You know that a pharmacist cannot be medical director, for example.
Well, absolutely.
There's a limit to where you can go. And you can look around and say, what else can I do? You might decide to go and do something, maybe an MBA, and walk into another group, maybe whatever, HR, look for a group where you can grow faster or higher than. I've seen an employee telling me, I can't stay in this job. My supervisor is almost my age, and I can't see, she can't retire before me. And if I wait for her to retire to be able to occupy her position, I might never get beyond certain level. Therefore, I need to find a way to be out of that situation. So managing your skill sets, developing your skill sets, getting them current. Of course, your networking is important, and working in a way that people see the value of what comes out of you. Not just working hard, but adding value. I tell people, if you're in a group of people doing similar job and customers come and always asking for a particular person, find out why they're asking for that person. Is it because the person is doing better job in terms of the skills? Is it the person has a better customer focus? Is it because I know some people that when you pick them on the phone, people want to talk to them because when you call them on the phone, either they respond very politely or they call you back when they don't see you. So there are certain mannerisms that people who have goodwill have. So it's a very complex situation. It's something you have to understand to know why you are frustrated, why you're not moving. Is your skill right? Are you looking out for opportunities for you to move? Are you doing the right thing? Are you asking the right questions from your supervisor? Are you managing your career that you understand clearly where you want to go and work towards that? So, and then are you communicating? Are you forming networks? Do you know how to solve problems? Who to look out for when you want to solve problems? For example, if you're in a job, I tell people when you're new in a job, no matter what the job, either entry level, medium, manager, whatever, when you're new, the first 6 months might be tough. Those are the times you're learning.
Right.
You ask a lot of questions. You read up stuff. You ask, where do I get this? What do I do this? How do I do this? People do that enthusiastically, helping you to put your 2 legs on the ground.
Right.
But if you continue asking, where do I print paper, for example, after 1 year on that job, people will lose hope. So you have to quickly learn that job and put your feet on the ground and start adding value. Even as a manager, they announce you as a manager, people congratulate you, come to that job. You don't automatically become respected.
You earn it.
You earn it. So you have to quickly understand that job. So when people come to you to ask for help, they should confidently leave your office knowing that they have gotten that help. And even when you don't know it, it will be something that you have to help them somehow to find the solution. Absolutely. So you have to earn it.
So every position comes at a price, definitely. Yeah. So what are the prices they had to pay to become the HR director? What do you have to let go?
That's a tough one. Like I tell young people, especially women, that if you want to grow, whatever your goals are in life, every one of them has a price to pay. You can't want to be the CEO of a company, for example, and then you want to close from work at 3:30 in the afternoon every day. And then you want to attend every meeting of your children's school every time. And then you want to do everything, I think all church services, everything that is important in your life, you have to, do them perfectly well. Something has to give, because there are only 24 hours in a day. So I found that over the years, I had to find a way to strike a balance between work. If you wanted to rise in your career, sometimes the career will take so much out of you that you might not be the perfect mother. You might not be the perfect wife. Your house might not look its best all the time. You might miss some meetings, but you have to find a way to develop a support structure that will support you. Luckily for me, during my years, I had my mother alive. I had family that helped, provided some support. But you find that I would have liked to be more there for my children. But sometimes you had a meeting at 8 o'clock. There's a meeting in your child's school at 8:30 or 9 o'clock. You can't make it. Would you go to the meeting in your child's school and leave the one in the management committee room? You can't leave that. But if you might once in a while take a permission and say, please, this is really critical. I need to be in my child's school, for example. That is understandable. That could be excused. But if over time you are always, absent because you're going for it, it will have to affect your career somehow, As a woman, I tell people that if you're working in an environment where men work, it's not that everybody wants working late is something that is desired. Sometimes it becomes very necessary. There might be a period of crisis or emergency and you have to stay back, and you can't just carry your load when you see others of your own level working to make sure something is delivered, and then you say you're leaving, for example. So sometimes dinner might be late, sometimes things might happen, and then that support structure starts with the spouse you have.
Right.
I tell young people always, the biggest, if you're going to be a career person, whether you're a man or a woman, the biggest decision of your life is the spouse you choose. The spouse you choose that will give you peace. The spouse you choose that will allow you grow and be who you are without feeling threatened. The spouse that you can call up, for example, and say, please, I have this meeting. Can you help me take this child to hospital, for example? And the spouse that might not feel that you are overshining, so to speak. So it's important. That is, in fact, the most important in terms of support for your career is your spouse, whether husband or wife. It's even more critical for women to have the right husband.
Right. So you said something that really resonates with me. You talk about you can't be there all the time. You need support system. It could be your family member that you have to bring into the house to help you, because most of all this school meeting you might not be able to meet up. I think that one is really good. So the next question.
But then you have to also, especially when you have young children, be careful which family member.
Right.
In this new era, you have to support with technology as well. Things were not as bad as they are now during our own time. But it seems there's so much evil in the land that you can't just leave your family feeling that, leave your young children, for example, feeling that, I have family.
I have uncle.
Exactly. So you have to support with technology as well.
So how were you able to manage sexism during your career? Working in a male-dominated environment, also some African culture influences certain people's perspective of women's role. What are your advice for women on how to deal with sexism in the workplace?
Chevron had a value system, a set of values, which included diversity, inclusion, respect, trust. And it was just not word on paper. They were all followed up with policies like anti-harassment policies. They have HIV/AIDS policy, for example, in terms of inclusion. So that is anti-discrimination against women. So these are things that were actualized, operationalized, thoroughly by following the policies. So even if there was a culture of sexism among the men that I worked with. They could not express such because it would be obvious. Yes, it's something. If anybody in Chevron complained of harassment or sexism, it's investigated. If you say somebody harassed me, if you came to my office, for example, and jokingly told me somebody harassed me, I won't let it go. The system expects me to investigate what that means. You can't even say, Mrs. Oh, please, I'm just telling you for your sake. Please don't say anything. I say, sorry, I've already said it.
How about some organization, because of the culture, this African culture sometimes, a woman, if you're talking, they might be like, why she so being bossy and all that? Must she talk? Must she this? Don't you know your place?
Back to what I said about the company having its structures in place. I am not saying that Chevron is perfect. I had some experiences with men who felt, I was the only woman on the management team, by the way, the executive leadership team and the board at the time, So even though I knew there were some chauvinists among the men that I dealt with, but they could not, openly discriminate against me or shut me down because of the system. When you're in there, if for example, I enter your room and look at how fine it is, I can't just start throwing spit on the ground for you because I know that it's not acceptable because of the mere ambience of the place. I have to conduct myself.
Right.
So you know that you're being watched. There's a system of feedback. People are watching you. They can go back and go into the feedback system and say, in the meeting today, for example, this person nearly did this. There was once I provided such feedback to an MD. I put it there. I said, the way you talk to this guy at the meeting, you didn't let him finish his work, you didn't do this, you didn't, it was a system that kind of helped to rein people back into the culture of the company. So I wouldn't say I didn't perceive some sexism. I did feel that, especially knowing the culture of the African and Nigerian men and all that, but it was not openly expressed. And the system has a way of protecting the women and discussing the women and ensuring, for example, the issue of women generally, making sure that you don't talk about pregnancies or maternity leave or stuff like that when you're assessing people or selecting them for jobs, or talking about age, or this person is too old or whatever. So things that could negate the basics of the company's culture. Things that anything that made nonsense of your inclusion policy, your diversity policy, value, your respect value, Women are suffering a whole lot of things out there. I've heard about women who, when they are pregnant, they have a job offer, they go for medical tests, they are not taken, for example. Or women are not given job assignments because they are young mothers, or they are not even hired because they are young. And because they are young, people think, they are going to start having babies. Yeah, things are happening out there. But I'm saying that Chevron did put a lot of policies in place and try to work those policies to make sure that people behave in a particular way that aligns with their value system.
Awesome. So tell me, what do you see are the general challenges for HR professionals in the workplace, and how can it be mitigated?
HR is a support, depending on the company. Always is an HR company, a consulting firm, for example. But if HR is supporting in an organization, it's a support function. It's not the main part of that organization.
Right.
So let's say it's an organization that is a money-making organization. HR does not make money. So if I'm in an engineering company, I don't make money that is seen. The engineers make the money, they drink the oil, they bring out the oil, they sell the oil. So HR is there managing the people that bring the money. So for HR to try to play a strategic role in an organization, HR has to know in their mind that they have to do extra work to prove their relevance in the organization. And because most people believe that HR is, anybody can do HR, every manager is doing HR job anyway. So what value are you as a professional bringing to show the manager that you're an HR professional, not just a manager, So the manager that is a supervisor of a group of people might want to do things in a certain way, believing that you really don't need an HR in this organization. So the challenge of HR is to say, you do need me. I'm a strategic business partner. I am the one that will help you to actualize your dream because I work on your people. I'm the human side of business. If I don't keep your people engaged, if I don't provide the right solutions on your people's side, then you will not be able to make that money because your people will be disengaged. Their performance will not be optimal. So HR has gone beyond period when we were like administrative people carrying fire to a place where we are now like a partner to the business to understand. You say, where is the business going? An HR person knows that, okay, if I'm in the oil industry, for example, there's a trend going on. The oil price is going down. Or you're listening to a set of presentations by engineers in a room, and you hear things like, oh, the barrels are going down. Our oil fields are aging. We're not really getting and no new projects are coming. So you're thinking to yourself, what does that mean for HR? What does that mean? How, if for example, you see that your husband is not as happy as he used to be, he's not giving you the money as much as he used to.
Understand the root cause.
What is the root cause? What is happening? And your husband will appreciate you if you don't continue to be in the demand mode when he's in trouble. But you're in a supportive mode to understand what the issues are, you know. So HR needs to understand the business and understand their strategic role in that business. And also be able to tell stories with data that helps business see the value in what HR is doing. So if I come and I attend meetings and make presentations that just shows HR as sucking money without showing you that there's a value that HR is adding. So HR skill sets are changing fast, and people need to also understand how comfort with numbers, data analytics, you know, being able to tell stories with data to say, this is the trend we're seeing. This is what we think should be happening at this time.
They should also improve their skill sets.
Exactly,
as well.
exactly.
That's so important. So now you've retired now, which is amazing. So you have a new company, Heart of HR. Can you please tell me about it?
The Heart of HR is a HR consulting firm that I founded after I retired last year, and is actually intended to be a support system for organizations. It has become even more important now that everybody's working from home. People are reducing their costs and things. The Heart of HR becomes a place that you can turn to say, help me with the whole value chain of HR without putting the whole load of staffing on your shoulders. So HR can help you with recruitment, can help you with online HR support without being hired. We could just be somewhere without knowing how we're providing support for you somewhere. So we can help you with people's solutions to engagement-related issues in your organization. So the whole thing, from the time the employee comes into the company to all the time that if there's a performance problem, for example, Heart of HR can come in and help to understand what the issues are.
You have a whole lot to share, and you have a lot to give, especially with the labor union.
Yeah, the union and all that.
A lot of organizations are actually facing it.
Exactly.
So with your huge experience, over 27 years in that field, I'm sure you have more than enough to give. So thank you so much, Ma. So the final one is that we have a lot of young professionals who want to be the CEO, be the MD, and all that. Can you please give us your final word? What are the advice? What are the things they need to be doing now to get to exactly where they want to be?
Well, first of all, you want to be the big guy in an organization, CEO, executive director, whatever. As a young person, the first thing is to get the right education, right? You get the right education, you develop your soft skills. Sometimes you enter an organization, you find that those who had first class might not be the ones that become the CEOs. It's those that have the softer skills of interacting with people, you know, that progress more, who know how to deal with situations, who are have more empathy, who are more humane, and who connect more with people that grow in the organization. So you enter an organization, of course, you have to understand that organization. What are the rules of the organization? What is the culture of the organization? For example, when I entered Chevron, I was a bit hot-tempered, and I found that if I continue that path, I'm not going to grow in the company. So you just have to know what your issues are and deal with them. Know what is not tolerated in your organization and deal with them. And learning is something that must continue all through your life, and continue to understand where are the new skill sets going. If, for example, I started as a copy server, for example, and then the technology has taken over the service of coffee, the way you can just put a cup and people take their coffee. What does that tell me? It means that things are happening in the system that I need to be aware of. I need to start changing the skill sets I have. I need to have mentors who can help me hone my skills, both the technical and the people skills. And mentors don't have to be one. You can have a mentor in your technical area. You can have a mentor in your people skills. You can have a mentor in your presentation skills. You know, you can want somebody who will be listening to you when you make presentations to say this is not going well, or you need to manage the way you do this, or eye contact and things like that. So you can have mentors in different ways. And mentors, as I said, they don't have to be older than you. They could be younger people, depending on what you're looking at. And then look out for role models in the organization, those who you think you can learn from, and reach out to them. Or you just watch what they do. Sometimes it's the way they talk. Sometimes I see somebody who compacts himself so professionally in a meeting, and I'm admiring it. I'm like, how can I present myself to be like this? You know, so you have to look out for mentors in the organization. And of course, these days, people don't believe you can finish your whole career in one organization. People like us seem to be going out of fashion, who stayed in one company for 27 years. So you have to really, for young people, the XYZ of these days, the millennials, they like to jump from one place to the other, but you can't jump without understanding where you're jumping to. So really surveying your environment, knowing what you need to do, what kind of skill set certifications you need to do. So initially it was basic BSc, maybe MSc. Of course, next you have all those certifications that will help you to continue, not only to build your network, to also build your professionalism. You know? So, and of course, understanding the system where you are, and as I said, for example, if you're in a place like Chevron where there's a limit to every position you occupy, knowing when to leave and move to another role, develop skill sets for another role, and not just sit down now, and looking out for job postings internally, externally, you know, and preparing yourself for them.
Don't be too comfortable in one place.
Yes, don't become too comfortable, and don't think there's something you cannot do. I believe, as I said, the three defining times in my life, I was put in positions I felt I couldn't deal with, but I plunged into them and I survived them. So just be ready to be stretched, and look for opportunities for a stretch. Any job you don't feel comfortable with, go in, and I'm sure you can do that.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to have you here. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. I'm sure you grab a lot from what Mrs. Holder said. You just have to improve your skill sets. I'll see you next time on Be Inspired with Melabate.